The only committee that I know is meeting today because we care about what goes on around the state of Georgia, especially when it impacts the men and women that go out and do the work every day. A lot of you sitting in this room are part of that team that keeps our state running and running efficiently, effectively, and physically sound. And then there's Jim. Who I've come to find out over the past few years does have a personality, which is unique in his profession. But we'll go ahead and get this meeting started. And I would like to ask the secretary of the committee, Senator Summers, if he would open with a prayer.
Please pray with me. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, we continue to ask for your blessings and your guidance. Please give us the strength to do what's right for the people of Georgia. Please continue to send your blessings our way. In Jesus' name.
Now, I want to be clear on today's agenda. We're going to discuss 5 pieces of legislation that currently sit in retirement. And we'll talk about what progress has been made on those. And we have gotten the actuarial studies back. The audits have been done. And I feel very comfortable with the hard work that's been done. And basically, just so that every committee member has the same information from day one. So as we start through this process, everybody will understand where our primary focus is going to be during this session when it comes to legislation that, especially the legislation that's been here for this being the second year, that are going to be our primary focus. Now, that does not mean that there cannot be legislation brought into the committee that is single term or single session legislation that can come in and be voted on and passed out of committee based on facts that an actuarial study would not be necessary or required. So with that being said, I think if everybody has a packet, I'm going to run through this legislation. We'll not be taking any testimony today. I will answer questions for any committee members, or if any committee members have any questions. Yes. Mr. Clay. Was it? Yeah. Good. The legislation I'll be running through, and if you need to take notes, we will be looking at this session, we'll be looking at Senate Bill 41, who is sponsored by Senator Huffstedler, the vice chair of this committee. It's dealing with Tax Commissioners Retirement Fund of Georgia. In summary, it creates the Tax Commissioners Retirement Fund. According to the actuarial investigation done on this, the total dollar amount of the increase in the annual employer contribution, which is necessary to maintain the retirement system in an actuarial sound condition, is $627,000. And all of you should have received copies of these actuarial studies. If not, if you'll let Ms. Jackson know, we'll make sure that those get to you ASAP. And again, that's Senate Bill 41. And I do know, Senator Huffstedler, that ACCG does have some concerns, and would love to have a conversation with you about that. I wasn't going to hear from ACCG. No, sir. I was going to just give you the heads up. Senate Bill 84, which is sponsored by Senator Albers of the 56th. This is the Peace Officers Annuity and Benefit Fund eligibility for certain communication officers. This would expand the membership of the Peace Officers Annuity and Benefit Fund to include post-certified communication officers, or what are commonly called 911 dispatchers. And the actuarial study on this, with the total dollar amount of the increase, would be 1.2 million. It said this bill would result in additional first-year costs of 1.2 million based on estimated revenues and benefit payouts. The fund is currently projecting a shortfall of approximately 8.2. Therefore, the fund would not meet concurrent funding requirements of OCGA 47-2050 if Senate Bill 84 were enacted. So plenty of homework and consideration needing to be done there. And again, that's SB 84. SB 167. SB 167 was something that was presented to the committee last session, and we also discussed it somewhat during a study committee this past summer. The sponsor of 167 is Senator Orrock of the 36th. What her intent was to provide for semi-annual post-retirement benefit adjustments for all beneficiaries of the Employee Retirement System of Georgia, and it would provide for conditions, limitations, and suspensions of such adjustments. And once the actuarial study was done, the impact was a minuscule $5,022,021,000. I believe I'm close to, no, I am wrong on that. It would be, no, I think I am correct on that. It's just a little south or a little north of $5 billion. But I want to say, as we discuss this moving forward, Jim and his team have done a great job working with Senator Huffstedler, and we'll be bringing some things forward that I think will give us the solutions that we're looking for to address COLAs for retirees, while at the same time looking at benefits for current employees that I think puts us well ahead of what we had anticipated last session when we were discussing the multiple benefit programs. This would primarily help those that are in the 401k retirement system or retirement lane. And so I think what we're going to do is once all the conversations are complete, the policy adjustments are made, and some good legislation is crafted, we will come in well below a $5 billion number that has been reported. It shows up on the actuarial study, but has also been reported in newspapers and other places. And so I feel that though SB 167 will go away, there will be something in its place that will accomplish a lot of the things that myself and Senator Hickman and others have been working on out of session with a lot of the retired employee groups, so that I think we can make some folks happy. The next one is Senate Bill 267, sponsored by Senator Rahman of the 5th. The summary is that it allows, it's teachers' retirement system is to change optional retirement allowance beneficiaries. It allows a retired member of the teacher's retirement system who elected an optional retirement allowance that included one or more named beneficiaries to change any of such named beneficiaries subject to certain conditions and limitations. This has been a piece of legislation that Senator Rahman has been watching closely, and it's very important to him. The actuarial study coming back the amount of unfunded actuarial accrued liability which will result from this bill, $726,915,000. So we've discussed some things. The senator and I spoke earlier today. I've been contacted by the TRS fund, and they have some possible solutions and recommendations they would like to make to try to get to where we need to be to correct the issue. And they think they can do it in a way that will not impact the fund as the actuarial study said it will. And so they're going to be in touch, and we'll be having hearings on that. Senate Bill 281, which I am the sponsor of, is the Sheriff's Retirement Fund of Georgia. This provides for increases in dues paid to the Sheriff's Retirement Fund, an increase in the sum to be paid for purchasing prior service credit, provides for payment to the fund for fees collected in criminal and quasi-criminal cases prior to adjudication of guilt, increases payments to the fund from fees collected in civil actions, and increases the benefit payable upon the death of certain members of the fund. This was also sent for an actuarial study. And the amount of the unfunded actuarial accrued liability which would result from this bill is $2,311,989. It says the bill would result in additional first-year costs of $195,752. It should be noted that current revenue sources do not sufficiently cover the recommended contribution to meet the minimum funding standards. However, this legislation includes provisions to increase revenue through an increase in rate and through a new source of revenue. As a result, the fund could generate an additional $1.8 million in revenue in the first year. This additional revenue is more than sufficient for the fund to meet the minimum funding standards if Senate Bill 281 is enacted. So that's another one. And the ones I am discussing are ones that we will be talking about. There were two other bills left on the table during last year's retirement committee meetings. The House had already gotten actuarial studies done on these. And so I felt that it would be a waste of energy and effort on our employees to bother with doing the actuarial studies for us at the same time while the other side was doing it. But also, primarily, these other two bills impact the pay and benefits of elected officials here in the Capitol, primarily the General Assembly. I, as chair of this committee, would never feel comfortable discussing my retirement, my benefits, and my pay in a way to where I felt I was being not properly compensated, while thousands upon thousands of state employees are on the job or have done the job and retired and are suffering more than I ever would. So those bills we will not be discussing during this session, and they will stay where they are. We will see what the House attempts to do with theirs. But again, my primary focus is going to be on taking care of the state employees first before we start dabbling into legislative retirement, legislative benefits. And now, if anybody has any questions, concerns, comments, or if there's certain materials that you need provided for you, then please let us know. Ms. Jackson will make sure you get everything you need. And so that when we hold our first full meeting where we will take testimony, where we will consider some of this legislation, everybody will be up to speed and we'll be able to hit the ground running. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Not hearing any. I appreciate everybody coming here today, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.